Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am discussing The Velveteen Rabbit, a note in consumerism. While creating a book collection for my children, I have dipped into some of the classics, especially those that were formative in my own youth. One of my absolute favorites, one that I've read over and over again, is The Velveteen Rabbit by Margery Williams. I had this book on tape when I was a kid, and yes, this was before audiobooks. It was literally a book on a cassette tape, and I used to listen to it a lot before bed. It was so comforting, and I would rewind and listen to it again and again. It is such a magical tale, and one of the reasons I loved it is as a child, I would literally wish and pray that my plushies would come to life. So the story of a toy being so beloved it becomes real truly thrilled me. This story is a brilliant piece of literature. There are so many layers to it and so many themes to explore. I think most people read this as a story about the meaning of love and being able to truly love someone despite or even because of their faults. This is an astute reading of the text, and we have a little plush rabbit who by itself is nothing special. In the book it says he's not a particularly expensive or fancy toy, but the boy loves him and that makes him real. It reminds me of the Frida Kahlo poem, and in the end I believe that we don't need to do anything to be loved. We spend our lives trying to be prettier, smarter. But I realize two things. Those who love us see us with their hearts and attribute qualities to us beyond those we really have. And those who don't want to love us will never be satisfied with our efforts. Yes, I really believe that it is important to leave our imperfections alone. They are precious to understand those who see us with the heart. This book really encapsulates that idea that to be loved is to be seen with the heart beyond our flaws and imperfections. However, today I wanted to focus on a different theme in the book that I think is often overlooked. That is what Margery Williams says here about consumerism, how it relates to the love and specialness of material items, and furthermore, how consumerism and industrialization go hand in hand. If you aren't familiar with this book, pause right now and go read it. It is a brilliant book. It is very easy to read, and it's very short, but I am going to spoil it for you today. It's over 100 years old, so you've had your chance. Here is a brief summary of the story. It's Christmas morning, and the boy, who is never named, receives, among many other gifts, a little stuffed velveteen rabbit in his stocking. The boy is charmed by him at first, but ends up forgetting about him amongst his plethora of other toys. The rabbit chats with the other toys in the nursery and learns about the concept of being real. The toy that holds all the wisdom about realness is the skin horse, who comes from the previous generation. He explains that when you are loved for a long time, you become real. One evening, the boy can't find his china dog, which usually sleeps with him. His nursemaid grabs the Velveteen Rabbit and says, "Here, sleep with this." From that night on, the rabbit becomes the boy's special toy. They spend long hours together in the garden, and at night, the boy whispers to him. Night after night, the rabbit feels more and more special to the boy, and he sleeps cozily under the bed covers with him. He doesn't even notice that the pink in his ears is becoming brown and that his nose and eyes are being rubbed down. One day, he's left in the garden and sees real rabbits playing. He doesn't understand that they aren't toys, and although the Velveteen Rabbit had previously believed he was starting to become real, seeing these live rabbits gives him a shadow of doubt. The boy becomes ill with scarlet fever, and the rabbit steadfastly provides comfort throughout his sickness. When the boy gets better, he is to go off to the seaside to improve his health, and the nursemaid and the doctor decide that everything in the boy's bedroom should be burned to prevent the illness being spread, including the Velveteen Rabbit. Lying in a rubbish sack at the end of the garden, the rabbit feels despair. After all that being loved and believing that he is real, he thinks he is about to meet his end. One real tear falls from his eye, lands on the ground, and from there a flower sprouts, a fairy comes forth, and makes him real. He is finally able to hop with the other rabbits and runs off in the forest with his new friends, real at last. Now, as I said, there are a dozen ways to read this and so many themes to explore, but I want to particularly focus on the notion of realness, not just as a sense of love for another, but a value in a material object. The skin horse, the oldest toy in the nursery, is an heirloom toy. He says that it was the boy's uncle who made him real, and he is still loved and treasured by the family. The family in the story is obviously one of privilege, having a nursemaid, a gardener, stacks of toys for Christmas, and a whole nursery with a bevy of playthings to choose from. We can assume that if they wanted to throw out the skin horse and buy a shiny new rocking horse, they absolutely could have. However, they chose to keep the one they have that dates back to the childhood of the boy's uncle. The skin horse is also real, and he is so by being loved. Consider now your favorite childhood toy or plushie. You still remember them, don't you? Or maybe you even still have them. So I had a few. This is my Camilla. She was from my uncle. I think I was probably about 5 or 6. When we specifically talk about a plushie, children usually choose one that is a special comfort toy. It can be a tool in weaning a child or getting them to sleep independently. You give them a soft toy to hold, to treasure, to comfort, and to reassure them as they gradually grow from being a baby who needs constant human contact into a child that will eventually sleep on their own. So yes, the realness comes from a love, but it also comes from a value in a material object. These comfort toys have a function and a purpose in our lives, and it gives them a value. What happens when that special comfort toy gets lost? The child is distraught. They have a physical need for it. Furthermore, I would argue that in that material value, you no longer have the need to consume more soft toys. Sure, some people like to collect them, but when you have baskets and baskets of soft toys at every thrift store and in every landfill in the world, it is hard to imagine that each and every one of them is needed. Those stacks of mass-produced polyester plushies are not needed. They do not have a material value because they are not loved and needed by a child. To further illustrate my point, let's also consider the way that industrialization plays into this. And let us return to the boy's nursery. I'm going to read a few excerpts from the start of the book. For a long time, he lived in the toy cupboard or on the nursery floor, and no one thought very much about him. He was naturally shy, and being only made of velveteen, some of the more expensive toys quite snubbed him. The mechanical toys were very superior and looked down upon everyone else. They were full of modern ideas and pretended they were real. The model boat, who had lived through 2 seasons and lost most of his paint, caught the tone from them and never missed an opportunity of referring to his rigging in technical terms. The rabbit could not claim to be a model of anything, for he didn't know that real rabbits existed. He thought they were all stuffed with sawdust like himself, and he understood that sawdust was quite out of date and should never be mentioned in modern circles. Even Timothy, the jointed wooden lion who was made by the disabled soldiers and should have had broader views, put on airs and pretended he was connected with the government. The skin horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath, and most of the hairs in his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger, and by break their mainsprings and pass away, and he knew that they were only toys and would never turn into anything else. So in my mind, the skin horse, the Velveteen Rabbit, these sort of toys represent a classic toy. They can easily be handmade from natural materials, and they require imagination to play with, and if well cared for, they can last for a long time. The mechanical toys, conversely, represent the industrialized toy, the mass-produced toy. So many modern toys are made of plastic. They require batteries. They make lights and sounds, or they move on their own. But these toys do not promote imagination. And guess what? They easily break. Herein lies the consumeristic cycle. As Karl Marx said, no production without a need, but consumption reproduces the need. If we have toys that are going to constantly break and be thrown away, we have the perfect formula for consumption. The toy breaks, you buy another one. These industrialized toys may keep your children quiet, but they do not promote imagination. And again, they will break. They are not heirloom quality toys. They keep you in a cycle of consumerism, needing the most modern toy and needing to have big Christmases and big birthdays with stacks of toys where the number of gifts counts, but the quality does not. Furthermore, Margery Williams says that these mechanical toys are not real. They do not have value in a physical sense because they won't be your child's comfort toy. They won't help them build their imagination, and they will never be loved in the same way as an heirloom toy. You may argue that your child loves their Elsa microphone or their DJ board, and maybe they do. The great Marie Kondo discusses this in her concept of keeping items that spark joy. She says that if you ask a child which of their toys spark joy, you can be pretty certain they're going to say all of them. Children do not understand this idea yet. They will be attached in a way to all of their toys and struggle to give them up. Children see the beauty in everything, and everything is new and exciting to them. However, if you consider the long-term effects, let's once again recall our own childhood toys. I still have Camilla here. I still remember the day that I got her and the games that I played with her. But I do not remember the plastic mechanical toys, the easily broken beaded jewelry, or the light-up soundboards. I don't remember them because they do not have the same material value as my dear Camilla. This is why it is vital to be mindful about what comes into your home in the first place. The parent is the one who stacks the Christmas tree, that buys the birthday gifts. The parent designs the toy box. And so I urge you to consider what values you are instilling in your children when you do so. Do you want a child who understands that deeply loving a small number of well-made, special things leads to a life of more freedom, imagination, and experiences? Or do you want a child who chases a quick dopamine rush, who quickly descends into a cycle of endless consumerism? This applies to us adults too. It is vital to understand that contemporary marketing strategies are designed to attack your insecurities. Each personalized ad you get on Instagram or on the TV or out and about is carefully crafted to convince you that you have a need for this product or service. It can be so easy to give in, and trust me, I know this because I've done it 100 times. Please awaken your consciousness and train yourself to resist. Your needs are actually pretty small. We can live very simply, and humans did so for millennia. Consider the Velveteen Rabbit. Consider whether this product or service is an actual need, or is it a slippery slope of never-ending consumerism? cleverly disguised as a need. Do not keep up with the Joneses. They are depressed. Do not throw away your hard-earned money on things that will end up in landfill. Hold tight to your Velveteen Rabbit. Train yourself out of the cycle of consumption, and you will find your entire life more real and more magical than ever before. That's my video for today, guys. I hope you love it. Please let me know. Do you love this book? What was your favorite childhood book? Tell me about your favorite childhood toy. I would love to hear. Please like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 and I will see you next time.